As a follow-up to the previous question, a customer's quality policy says they either have to use an accredited lab or simply says that it must be a NIST traceable calibration. They likely don't use or don't know what to do with the uncertainties. What should they do?
If a customer's quality system states that they must use an accredited lab, then the discussion I would have with them is, if you're using an accredited lab, that implies you need an accredited calibration which follows ISO 17025. That's not what the intent was for that quality policy. And the idea was to just use an accredited lab because they're trustworthy. And you don't need data or you don't need uncertainties. You'll have to go to a non-accredited level of service. For a client who has the statement that calibrations must be NIST traceable, I want to make our clients aware that the NIST policy on metrological traceability, and I'll share that with you, shown here on the screen, requires measurement uncertainties for metrological traceability. This used to just be referred to as traceability, and prior to that, NIST traceability. Traceability is to the SI units, the International System of Units, not to a National Metrology Institute like NIST. It can go through an NMI like NIST, PTV in Germany, and RC in Canada. But it's traceable. It's the measurement that's traceable to the SI units that are defined by the BIPM and realized by each of the National Metrology Institutes. So traceability is important because those organizations were created for commerce, for trade. The whole purpose of their existence is to maintain this traceability chain so that the measurements made on product with instrumentation to determine pass or fail are valid, and they're consistent from one measurement to another regardless of the instrument being used. All of that traceability chain requires not only the measurement to be reported, but how much variability there is. That's the measurement uncertainty, which is stated here in NIST policy.
So if a customer receives an accredited calibration level, does Transcat do anything differently than what was done prior to this change?
No, all of our labs are still accredited. Same standards, the same technicians, the same processes, just simply not reporting the data if you're just getting a non-accredited cert only, or if you're getting the cert with data before and after, you would not have measurement uncertainties. The process is the same regardless.
So other companies are providing an accredited logo on the calibration certificate, but not providing the uncertainties. Why is that?
Again, this requirement from ILAC through the accrediting bodies to each of the calibration labs and testing labs must be placed by March 31st, 2021. Those companies that you may see that from may still be working on getting this system in place. But by the 31st of March, they must be compliant with this as well. Right.
So a customer changed their calibration to accredited with uncertainties, and the rep they spoke with asked them about a decision rule. What is that?
A decision rule tells the calibration laboratory with measurement uncertainties how to use them to determine in and out of tolerance. You now have the calibration data results for before or after, a measurement uncertainty, and you've got to apply that to determine whether it's in tolerance. Without going into a lot of detail, which we'll do in part 2, we're going to default to what's called simple acceptance, meaning we'll report the data, we'll report the measurement uncertainties, and we won't make a decision. We won't apply that to a decision rule. We won't use that to determine pass or fail. Also, in part 2, we'll go into more detail about the different methods we use for decision rules. It has to be our client's decision. And there's a lot more information on our website. We have white papers that talk about guard bending and decision rules and a number of other things on this topic.
So what do all these changes mean to my price? Is it going to double?
No, absolutely not. So there are a number of things that we have put in place, our competitors as well, internal calibration labs. You build this into your system, it takes labor and resources, programming, to accompany this and account for everything that has to happen. There's some cost to that, and so the price is likely going to increase some. When we talk about differences between service levels, typically any calibration company is going to have about a 20 to 25% difference from one service level to the next. We are going to be looking at trying to keep this to a minimum for our clients, but still cover our costs, collaborating their budget.